Greetings, friends. Welcome to CTUCC ConferenceCast for March 28th, 2013, the regular podcast of the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ. Whoever you are, and wherever you may be on life's journey at this very moment, you are welcome here. As this is Holy Week, we offer two reflections in ConferenceCast today. We open with this meditation for Maundy, Thursday, and Good Friday by Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology, your podcast host. And we'll close with a reflection for Easter. I have come to see the day of crucifixion differently. For years, I imagined it in darkness, just flickering oil lamps around the table of the Last Supper, a few stars overhead in the Garden of Gethsemane, although at Passover there would have been a full moon. Then only a fitful fire in a brazier to cast shadows across the courtyard where Peter denied Jesus 3 times. The Gospels say, in fact, that deep darkness covered the land from noon to 3 o'clock on that Friday when Jesus died. But the tragedies of the last few years have made me see all these events in a bright light, because so many horrors have taken place beneath the blazing light of the sun. The truck bomb exploded in Oklahoma City on a sunny day. Nearly 12 years later, I still get chills at the memory of the sun glinting from the skin of the airliners as they crashed into the World Trade Center towers in New York City. And just last December, it was a bright sun that beamed down on the Sandy Hook Elementary School when violence came to call. Evil does not wait for night. We call these acts crazy or sick or insane, and so they are. But Jesus was executed by a combination of ordinary human resentment combined with the cold processes of a human justice system, one that regarded itself as the best in the world. Pilate tried him and crucified him in the day, in public, in front of God and everybody. And that's also how angry young men turn guns on each other on our city streets. It's how drug gangs decide to slay journalists and public officials. Most of all, it's how nations launch wars. There beneath the blue sky, they follow a cold and terrible logic, and evil does not wait for night. The shadows are in our minds. This evening, as the candles are slowly snuffed before us during Tenebrae, the service of the shadows, I will remember the bright light of day, and that evil does not wait for night. I will remember. I will keep watch beneath the sun, and I will confess to God the shadows of my own mind. In the news this week, tomorrow, Good Friday, in New Britain, artist Kevin Bedreau will paint a mural of the crucifixion on a large plywood canvas standing on the steps of South Church in New Britain. According to lead pastor, the Reverend George Harris, Bedreau's painting will be challenging to some and inspiring to others, offering a fresh perspective and contemporary interpretation of one of the defining events of the Christian faith. On Monday, the UCC's Mission for One Earth initiative begins, our 50-day effort to raise awareness and provide tangible support to our fragile home planet Earth. There's a video now available with 20 suggestions for ways to count Earth Care hours toward our 1 million hour goal. We hope as well that you'll join in the tree planting effort and the letter writing campaign, getting both of those to their 100,000 numbers. So, what will you do to participate in Mission for One Earth? The world is filled with color. And in May, the New England Association of United Church Educators will celebrate the vibrant colors of faith at their annual event at Craigville Conference Center on Cape Cod. Check out their new video and consider taking those 3 days, the 7th to the 9th, to build your own spirit and to learn more about nurturing the faith of others. We're sorry to report that Kim Harrison, our policy advocate, has notified us that she will be unable to continue acting as our legislative lobbyist in the Connecticut State Capitol, as she has accepted a new and challenging position with the Hartford healthcare system. For 24 years, Kim has labored to take the declarations of our conference's delegates and ministers and turn them into public policy in the State House. The state's continued support for our most vulnerable citizens, and last year, the end of the death penalty in Connecticut, are among the legislative successes for which we owe Kim much thanks, and we wish her all the best. Plans to continue the work of the public policy advocate are still being developed. Learn more about all these stories and keep up with the current headlines by visiting us at ctucc.org/news. Here it is, the end of the month, and so we're very glad to welcome conference archivist John Van Epps to the studio for an Easter edition of Touchstones with History.
We are now in the midst of our Holy Week and Easter services. Liturgical renewal is a phrase that has been used in recent decades. But for our churches, the term liturgical renewal was used 100 years ago. That was the time we began to have a liturgical year. Before that time, our churches barely observed the Christian year. In the colonial period, even Easter was not celebrated as a special day. Easter was seen to be more Catholic. After all, the word Easter is not mentioned in the Bible or the early church. The focus of our churches was every Sunday as the Lord's Day and a recognition of the risen Christ. Rejecting such holy days as Good Friday and Easter, our churches instead followed the agricultural pattern of death, Thanksgiving, and rebirth in the spring. Then, by the 1800s, Easter was generally celebrated. By that time, there were Easter hymns by Isaac Watts and the Wesleys. After World War I, as part of the observances of the 300th anniversary of Congregationalism in New England, the Division of Evangelism gave, quote, tentative recognition to the Christian year. It was suggested to the churches that there were certain values in the January to Easter period. It did not even use the word Lent. The next year, it mentioned the Lenten season. There were some protests over the term Ash Wednesday. In 1919, the Fellowship of Prayer devotional booklet began, starting with the first Sunday in Lent, not Ash Wednesday. The next year, it included Ash Wednesday. Soon, this Fellowship of Prayer was used in many denominations. We were in the liturgical renewal forefront. Within 5 years, most of our free churches were observing Lent as well as Easter. The 1923 Book of Church Services had one Christmas and one Easter service. However, by 1948, the Book of Worship had a 70-page section on prayers and worship services for the Christian year. This liturgical renewal has been even greater expanded with the 1986 Book of Worship. So we've come a long way for Lent and liturgical renewal.
The Connecticut Conference has issued a call to a special meeting of ministers and delegates to be held at 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 20th, to consider the recommendation of the Reverend Kent J. Salati to be the next conference minister. Visit ctucc.org/annual meeting for more information and to register. Mothers Against Gun Violence will rally this Saturday in Hartford. The UCC Office Support Staff Network Annual Conference will be April 4th through 6th in Lisle, Illinois. Patsy Bjorling leads a workshop on the Seasons of Generosity approach to stewardship in Westbrook on April 6th. Stepping Stones explores the importance of time with children on April 10th. The Reverend Jean Lenk will talk about the difference between a discipleship church and a membership church on April 11th in North Haven. A national UCC conference on environmental justice with a Train the Trainer format will be held at Silver Lake Conference Center April 12th through 14th. The conference historians workshop will be in Avon on the 13th. Register now for Journey to the Water's Edge, a day of reflecting, responding, and healing the traumas in our ministries, which will be held in Madison on April 16th. The Women's Spirit and Yoga Retreat at Silver Lake is the weekend of April 19th. Give Squared will have a Green Action Day in Hartford on April 20th, and there is a Riverfront Earth Day opportunity in Hartford on the 21st. Registration is open for these events as well. And of course, the special meeting of the conference is April 20th in New Britain. The last weekend of April is a busy one. Silver Lake holds its Spring Action Weekend beginning on Friday the 26th. On the 27th, you can attend the CT Women of the UCC annual meeting, or hear Mary Luty speak about worship in Southington, or attend the Climate Revival Day in Boston. Make sure to check out our website for events coming up in May as well. You can find those, and you can always learn about what's coming up in the Connecticut Conference by visiting us at ctucc.org/events. We close today with this meditation from the Reverend Tamara Moreland, Interim Northwest Regional Minister. In the 24th chapter of Luke's Gospel, several women go to Jesus' tomb to properly anoint his body. But they find that the stone has been rolled aside and the body is gone. Two men in shining clothes ask them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but he is risen." Jesus had told them that it would happen, but only in that moment do they remember.
I was talking to my 10-year-old daughter the other day about our favorite movies of all time. We each had the Disney movie The Lion King on our list, and we began sharing what we thought made it a great movie. We liked the music, of course, but we really liked the relationship between the father and son, Mufasa and Simba. Mufasa is the king of Pride Rock, and his only son, Simba, is next in line for the throne. Mufasa dies. Well, it is an orchestrated death by his brother. And young Simba's life takes many twists and turns as he encounters good and evil on his journey toward adulthood and destiny. He is guided by the spirit of his father. In one scene, Simba is looking into a pool and sees himself and then sees his father in his reflection. He hears his father's voice speaking to him, saying, "Remember. Remember who you are." It is a touching scene because Simba, I believe, recognizes that not only is his father with him, but his father is in him. And Simba can and will rise up out of his dark season into new life. During Holy Week, we gather to reflect on Jesus' life, death, and resurrection in our worship services and sacred conversations. It is a time like no other in the Christian calendar because it is a time to remember. We remember that our Lion King was God's one and only Son, who God gave to us that we might have everlasting life. We remember that he, too, had an orchestrated death by crucifixion, and because of his atoning death, we have received forgiveness. We remember that Jesus was buried in a borrowed tomb, but did not stay in it for long because death could not hold him. And most importantly, we remember that Jesus rose on the third day as he said he would. That's good news. So, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey today, you too can embrace new life in Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. Our prayer for this week is excerpted and adapted from one by Fran Peavy, which is found in Life Prayers from all around the world. O great life-giving Spirit, whose commanding voice I hear in the winds and whose warm breath gives life to all the world. Let me walk in the beauty, let my spirit see the dynamic spirit of life in all that exists with no prejudice or malice toward any creation. May I begin to remember who I am in the natural order of things as I stand in my own shallow pool of time. May I come to know what time it is in my life and in all life. Amen.
And that brings this conference cast to a close. Thanks to Tamara Moreland for her reflection and to GarageBand for our music. Primary funding for Conference Cast comes from your congregation's gifts to our church's wider mission basic support, changing lives for the United Church of Christ. This is Eric Anderson, the Minister of Communications and Technology for the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ, praying that your days this Holy Week may be filled with the presence, the guidance, and the grace of God. This is Eric Anderson again. Next week, I'll be attending the conference of the Associated Church Press and the Religious Communications Council in Indianapolis, Indiana. I do plan to have a conference cast for you, but I'm not entirely certain what the schedule for its release will be. But I hope you'll stay tuned, and I look forward to being with you next week.